have for a thrill. We have stories of the dead coming back
to life, tales of the
night evil.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
The All-American Spookshow.
Hello and welcome to the All-American Spook Show podcast. I'm Josh, and as always, I'm joined here with Will.
Hello.
And the Professor Smoke.
What's up, everybody?
And 'tis the season to be jolly. We're celebrating Christmas. Today we're going to be watching the 2010 movie from Finland.
Yeah, Finland and like a bunch of other countries that co-produced it, I guess.
Yeah,
right? Norway.
There's a lot of hands in this one, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the 2010 Christmas movie, Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale, at least as far as we're recording this podcast, it's available on Hulu to watch. It may be available in some other places, but or some other places to stream. I'm not sure. But as far as in the U.S., currently as we're recording this, it is available on Hulu. So if you want to pause this, go check it out and watch it, then come back and listen. That should be a good place for you to find it. And of course, as always, you can email us at allamericanspookshow@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at @AASpookshow. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube by searching for All American Spook Show. We put up full episodes of the podcast there and other extra content when we get around to it over on our YouTube channel. You can check that out. And of course, we also have a TeePublic page where you can buy logoed merchandise, shirts, hoodies, mugs, pillows, whatever else they put the All American Spook Show podcast logo on. So you can go find that over on teepublic.com. Just search for All American Spook Show. And of course, all the links are down here in the show notes of this episode. So I guess before we get into anything, what have you guys been up to here over the last couple weeks?
Not a whole heck of a lot. It's been a lot of work. It's kind of hard to get away, and when I do, it's so I can sleep.
Myself, I haven't really been able to watch anything in the movie theaters for a while, so unfortunately, so I'm way behind on 2019 flicks.
Yeah, I've seen. Well, I don't know if we mentioned it or if I talked about it when we did Home Sweet Home or not. But I'd seen Dr. Sleep sequel to The Shining, and I enjoyed that one.
I don't think we mentioned it. How was it?
I liked it. There's a lot of nods in there too, and you can even tell from the trailer. There's a lot of nods to Stanley Kubrick's film, even though it's a more, I guess, closer to Stephen King's novel than say The Shining. Kubrick's Shining was to King's novel, but there's still a lot of nods to the Shining movie in this one as well. So, yeah, I enjoyed it.
I'd say you have to have a delicate balance there of like wanting to pay homage to Stanley Kubrick, but also to Stephen King, because
correct, yeah,
and because the Shining was such a divisive thing, somewhat, between Kubrick and King, even to this day, that I'm sure it's a delicate balance there to kind of pay homage to both, but yet still kind of making it its own thing.
I even seem to remember at one point I think King was giving his accolades more so to that Shining miniseries than he was to the Kubrick film.
Yeah, which I still have yet to sit down and watch that one. I mean, I've heard it's good.
I haven't seen the whole thing. I've seen pieces of it, but I haven't seen the whole miniseries.
I'd say Jack Nicholson was just so good, and of course Stanley Kubrick being a cinematic master, but Jack Nicholson was just so good in that movie that it's probably hard for anyone to wrap their brain around anyone else playing that part.
Yeah. True, yeah. And just, Kubrick's style of filmmaking is, I think we might have probably talked about this before on there, that it became as much of a Kubrick movie as it was a King novel, or even more so of a Kubrick film than a King novel.
Yeah, no question.
But also saw The Lighthouse.
Ah, how was that?
I really enjoyed that movie, but I can definitely see, I haven't gone back to look at the reviews, look at the rating on IMDb or anything like that. I can definitely say, though, that it would be another one of those divisive kind of movies like his first film, The Witch. This one probably is even more divisive than The Witch was, as far as people probably not appreciating maybe some of the art house type aspects of it, because it does go out a little bit further in the left field than The Witch did even. So, but I really loved it. This is a director that I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on in the future. So
yeah, it's Robert Eggers, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's almost like kind of reminds me of like the dude that did Midsummer. Ari Aster, is that his name?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like in terms
very
of
much,
like I haven't
very
seen the
similar type.
I haven't seen the Lighthouse, but like in terms of the way they do it, like it's not your common horror films. You know, I don't know how to describe them. Like
Yeah, I don't. It's
you kind of have to think
that's
about it a little bit. They kind of haunt you, really. You know,
definitely- yeah. They're kind of in that mold, I guess, of sort of like a. And I'm not saying that they're copying anything from these movies, but like Rosemary's Baby, where it's not cut and dry. You know, they give you a little bit to work with there as far as
they're not.
you know
They're not.
coming up with things yourself, sort of.
Yeah, yeah. Like you have to kind of fill in the blank spaces, and they're not gory, bloody. Quite the opposite of slasher type of films. You know, they're different.
I think it's kind of it's sort of not a backlash, but just a way of doing, I guess, horror differently. Or I guess you could say it's a backlash to the sort of remake and that type of stuff that's been pushed out there for like so many years now.
Mm-hmm.
That I guess we're trying to get to that pure cinema that's horror and doesn't even have to necessarily be confined to one genre. Even so, I mean, The Lighthouse could be drama as much as it is horror.
Would you say it's more closely in line with, say, like a Psycho?
Yeah, definitely more so than straightforward horror. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen that one in particular, but you know, just knowing from some of those other movies that we're talking about, I'd say it definitely follows more that line of horror or the horror genre, so to speak, than it does, say, Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, completely different kinds of movies.
Yeah, totally unconventional. Because I mean, you know, you got Psycho, who the person you think is the main protagonist dies within the next, you know, the first however many minutes of the movie. You know, spoiler alert. No.
Yeah, that movie's only been out for like 50-something years.
But yeah, it's like that where things happen that you're not necessarily expecting. You know, because as fans as we all are of the horror genre, we sometimes expect certain conventionalism in a movie. I mean, if you're watching a slasher movie, you kind of expect it to follow certain guidelines in there that have been set forth before. Zombie movies, same thing. I think it's sort of a new wave of horror, I guess you could say.
I always think of it like the first Wes Craven's Scream movie, you know, where they almost kind of set the rules, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yep.
You almost think of it like the generic consumer version of horror is that. You know, those ground rules that they set, that type of movie and everything. But then there are so many different other types of subgenres and, you know, classifications even in that, you know, that it's far more broad than that.
Subgenres upon subgenres. Huh?
Yeah. It's like rock music. You can't just say rock. There's heavy metal. There's blah, blah, blah. You know, there's all these different progressive rock, alternative rock, blah, 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 blah. It's like that.
And even within those genres, and then within, you know, of course, metal is not just metal. There's power metal, you know, metalcore, death metal, black metal, whatever, you know, and then subgenres upon those subgenres. So, yeah. Horror genre has definitely branched off into those directions too. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't think of anything I've watched recently. I've been catching up on. I still got a few episodes to watch of the current season of American Horror Story 1984. I think I got the last few to watch on that. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, at least in terms of they nailed the time period, if nothing else, for sure. And that slasher film type of thing. Except there's more going on to it than that. It's deeper than just, you know, some dude running around stabbing people, for sure. It's a little odd. It's not necessarily what I expected, but as far as that 1984 time period aesthetic, yeah, they nailed that. And the soundtrack and everything, they got that part right for sure.
Oh, it's got a. I assume I haven't seen any of the episodes yet, but I assume it has like does it have like a synth wave type soundtrack?
Yeah, for sure. It's very, you know, 1984, you know, in terms of the music and the style and everything. Yeah. It's there. It's just a little deeper than just what you would think. Like, you know, it's a slasher, but there's more to it than that. They put some imagination into it, that's for sure. And they mixed a little bit of real life, like things that were going on at the time into it, but changing history almost. Hard to describe, but yeah, I definitely recommend going and checking it out. I've enjoyed it so far, and I got the last few episodes to watch, which I think it's already over. I think it was a shorter season than they normally have.
Oh,
if I'm not mistaken. Will, have you watched any of those seasons of American Horror Story?
No.
Yeah, you should watch some of those, man. Some seasons are better than others, you know, like any other show, but they're really well done. They're good. Some of them are really, really good.
There's a few I got to catch up on personally. Like I can't remember which exact season it was. Maybe it was season 2 or maybe it was 3. But Coven, whichever season that was, I hadn't seen that one yet.
I want to say that was season 2 or 3. It's early on.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty early on. And then Roanoke, I didn't see all of that. I mean, I think I saw a couple episodes of that, but I didn't finish that one yet.
I actually just kind of skipped ahead to watch this one. I haven't watched like the last couple before that. Like I didn't watch Roanoke or Cult. I think it was the last couple before this one. Because that's another good thing about
I did see the one with Lady Gaga as a vampire, I think it was. I saw that one.
Yeah, that was.
I can't remember what that was.
Hotel.
Hotel, yeah. That one. I remember. That was a good one, actually.
That was weird as hell, but it was a good one.
Yeah. It had a good soundtrack on that one, too.
Yeah,
a lot of 80s tracks there as well.
But that's the beauty of that series is that you don't necessarily have to go back and like watch it from season one.
No.
There are some slight tie-ins, but you know you can skip from season to season. Like you could just go ahead and start watching 1984 and not have to worry about anything that happened before it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is the cool design of that series, I guess. The way that it's everything's self-contained, one season, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you said, there's homages and things that tie together, slight things, but
it makes it very accessible from season to season. So I guess before we get into the background and the ins and outs and everything. Have any of you guys seen this movie before today or before?
I had not.
Smoke, have you seen it before?
I think this would be, I've seen them. I'm trying to think if this is my, I guess, third time of seeing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this would have been my third time seeing it.
All right, so with that being
said.
And
the first time was way back when I don't remember if it was, I guess it was 2012. I saw it on Netflix. They had it for streaming when Netflix was, back in 2011 or 12 or so.
When Netflix had slightly better movies to watch.
Yeah, I guess before they had all the TV shows to concentrate on their own, shows they had, but they did have a bunch of good movies. And I guess before there was a lot of other streaming services that kind of took the place of that, as far as like Shudder and Hulu and all those.
Mm-hmm. So with that,
this would be the third time.
So with that being said, Will, this being the first time you've seen it, what were your initial reactions to it?
Part of it, with the first viewing of it, I almost felt like this feels like I'm missing something. Like, was there a previous movie to this, or one that followed it? The other thing was it left me wanting more, and I wouldn't say necessarily in a good way.
All right, Smoke, what were your initial reactions?
I guess the first time I saw it was this is before like Krampus, had been in theaters. I mean, I knew of the theme of it, and I'm not saying that this is. We'll get into that when we get the blow by blow and everything. But there are some correlations, I think, to the Krampus mythology. And so I thought that was really cool. Like I said, it was before the Krampus movie had even come out or anything, but I was aware of the actual folklore behind it or whatever. So I like those tie-ins to, even though they don't mention the name Krampus anywhere in the movie. Yeah, the only, I guess we'll get, like I said, we'll get into more of this once we get into blow by blow. But one, I guess, disappointing factor of it was when we get to quote unquote Santa Claus, his minimal maybe involvement in the movie. That's where I would like to see a little bit more there than kind of where the movie went. But I enjoyed it, and again, I saw it the second time around. I enjoyed it a little bit more. So, I mean, it would be cool to have seen a little bit more of quote unquote Santa's storyline, I guess. But no, I enjoyed it.
Myself, I had not seen it before this. I'm pretty sure I hadn't even heard of it. Like, I don't even know in passing I had seen that this was a thing. That being said, I mean, I think it was kind of what I expected. Maybe a little more than I expected, but I'm kind of like you on that part, the Santa part, Krampus, however you want to phrase it. I was once again familiar with that folklore, at least, that I think in a lot of European countries and just countries, over the pond, so to speak, right? Like that's kind of what they think. They don't think of Santa Claus. I think there's even that joke in the movie that like it's not the Coca-Cola Santa.
Oh yeah,
like,
I think definitely not the Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
Santa.
yeah. I think like Coca-Cola like changed the way we looked at Santa Claus, like legit. Like, before Coca-Cola, back in the day, Santa. I don't know if Santa was always seen as like the jolly fat dude with the red cheeks and the red suit, ho ho ho, and all that, right? Like, I think that kind of changed the mythology a little bit. So
yeah,
I was
became more benevolent, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a little bit. There's a little bit of that. Darker edge a little bit in the fact that when you're a kid or something, when your parents like you'd be bad that Santa's going to put coal in your stocking.
Yeah.
I mean, that was as bad as it got.
Yeah.
It's not Santa's not going to kidnap you and punish you or something.
Yeah. By the time we came along, like the myth had changed to happy feelings and everything. Whereas back in those days and in the older countries, they kind of use it as you better be good or this thing's going to come and eat you. So they actually scared the living shit out of their kids with this. So. You didn't see him as a rosy man that was going to bring you presents. You saw him as, Satan himself. So,
And when you think about it too, just fairy tales in general, all those original fairy tales that came from like Germany and other parts of Europe and everything were very dark. Even when I was a kid, I remember them being very dark.
well,
And then over the years, they've
softened them up.
lost that edge to them, I guess.
Yeah, that was
movies.
I think that was the general reason for their existence, right? Was to basically scare kids straight, right?
Yeah.
This is the way you did it. You just scared the crap out of them, so they, it's the old if you play with fire, you're gonna piss the bed or something. It's like that. Like, oh crap, I don't want to piss the bed. Better not play with fire. So yeah, I was familiar with that. That side of the myth of Santa Claus. So. That part I kind of expected, although, they definitely took it to a different direction. And, I'll save the rest for whenever we give our star reviews at the end. But so I guess with that out of the way, I guess we can go into some of the background here. This film was released December 3rd, 2010 in the U.S. I'm pretty sure it was released in Finland and some other countries before. Best I can tell, it did have at least a small run, I believe, in the theaters.
I want to say I remember seeing like trailers for it, like leading up to when it was coming out.
Possibly. I mean, because from best I can tell, it made in the U.S. box office, it made a little over $4 million, which means it got some type of small limited release in theaters for sure, just based on that. And best I can tell, I couldn't tell an exact. I don't know what the exchange rate is or whatever, but whatever money they spend there, I guess it's euros. I guess. The budget, yes, euros. So the budget for that was 1.83 million euros, which once again, I don't know what the conversion rate is, but
yeah, I'm not sure either.
Fairly small budget though, give or take, because I think give or take, the euros are a little bit more than the dollar, right? Our handful of international listeners may be just laughing at us right now, like, these dumb bastards. But yeah, that was the budget, and then it made at least a little over $4 million in the U.S. Oh yeah, it was. Well, it looks like it was released around the same time in Finland. So, and I think it played at some film festivals and stuff like that in the month or two leading up to that. So I guess that's kind of the official release. Either way, it came out later part of the year 2010, and it was released by. This is a long list. Senate, which is in Finland, in co-production with Pomar Film, which is Norway. Devage Film, Sweden, and Love Streams Agnes B Productions, France, with support from the Finnish Film Foundation, Norwegian Film Institute, Film Camp, and Filmpool Nord. Sorry. And like I mentioned before, it's currently on Hulu in the U.S. So yeah, there's a lot of fingers in the pie for sure, and there's probably even more that I didn't list that had something to do with this. But a lot of those other countries and stuff, like. They almost have like these film boards and stuff that are set up to help finance films and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, they get. I mean, I don't know specifically about this movie, but yeah, I know those. They set it up to do a film, and then they give them a certain amount for whatever budgetary,
Yeah.
Not maybe not to fund the whole thing, but they do give them
the
stipends or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, the country kind of kicks in a little bit to kind of help stuff get made in the country, I guess. I guess is the reasoning for it. I'm not exactly sure. The total runtime for this movie was 1 hour and 24 minutes. I do think the movie moves pretty quick. I mean, obviously, that's not a very long movie, 1 hour and 24 minutes. And frankly, that's probably about 5 minutes of credit.
Well, when you think about it, Home Sweet Home was 1 hour and 24 minutes. Right?
Oh, God. I think you're right and almost dead on.
Like 3 hours.
Yeah, that is a good example right there of what a halfway decent movie's time can, click moving along. This is halfway interesting versus a piece of shit where you're just like, God, how much is left?
I know. Yeah, you look at your watch and it's only been 2 minutes. Damn, the credits just stopped.
Yeah, I mean, I never stopped this movie one time to see how much was left. Like I did pause it a couple times to use the bathroom or something, and all right, I got 30 minutes left or something, but not because like, God, how much longer do I have to watch this? Like Home Sweet Home. But yeah, I think it's a pretty fast-paced movie. It keeps your interest enough to to the bitter end. It was directed and written by Jalmari Helander. I can tell you once again to our few listeners in Finland, don't be mad at me for trying to pronounce most of these names because I'm going to shit all over it this entire podcast. I can guarantee it. Directed and written by Jalmari Helander. And this was based on 2 short films that he and his brother wrote. which I can't think of his name, but it was like under the name the Helander brothers. The first
Frank.
Frank Helander. The first short film was from 2003 called Rare Exports Inc. And then in 2005, they actually had a short film sequel, Rare Exports: The Official Safety Instructions. Oh, by the way, his brother's name is Juso Highlander, and it was basically
pretty close.
Basically,
no, SS Strasse.
Yeah, SS Strasse. Ah, you said SS Strasse.
I don't understand.
Nah, don't worry. One of our favorite films to speak of, Suspiria. By the way, we were going back and forth earlier, and Will, you said something about never watching the new Suspiria, or no, you don't plan on watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what? Yeah. Go ahead and make those plans, because we're gonna be locking that in sooner or later.
Don't worry, coming soon. Guest host.
Will's going to be on assignment that particular week. What's the assignment? I don't know. Anything that doesn't involve Suspiria? Yeah, so anyways, back to the Rare Exports here. So it was done by two brothers, Jamari Highlander and Juso Highlander. And it's basically about, like, kind of, I don't want to say exactly what those are about, although I didn't watch them. I know at least the first one is available on YouTube. Should be, as we're recording this, they're available on YouTube. And maybe I'll try to find the second one, and I'll link them to the show notes. So, if you guys want to go check those out, you can. We didn't watch them for this, and we didn't do our full prep work. I don't want to say exactly what they're about, because it's pretty much going to give away the end of this movie until we get there. But basically, it's kind of like, I think they're basically based on what happens at the end of this movie. I guess they would, in a way, almost be like sequels to the movie. In a way, I think. At least, by the descriptions I read of them. So yeah, Jalmari Highlander directed this and wrote it. I'm assuming his brother had something to do with it, but at least it's based on the characters that they came up with. The only other thing you'd probably know Jalmari Highlander from would be the movie Big Game, which starred Samuel L. Jackson as the President of the United States. I think we kind of discussed it pre-show. None of us have watched that movie, right? Big Game?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
I don't know how successful that movie was, or if anyone's even seen it or heard of it, but it did have a few, stars in it. I point that out to say, like, all right, so that he directed this movie, Rare Exports, and that. The producer was Agnes B., among a few others, but I guess she's the main producer. She, now apparently a lot of these people have, they might all be huge successes in Finland for all I know. Huge stars over there, but like, not many of them have things that here in the U.S. we would know. This producer, though, she was the executive producer on that James Franco movie called Spring Breakers that came out a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which, have you seen that? Either of you seen that movie?
I don't think so.
It had like
no,
Selena.
I'm thinking of never mind. No, I'm thinking of something else.
Totally. It had like Selena Gomez, a couple other like younger actresses that that are real popular these days.
Was that the one directed by the guy that did Kids, or the producer of Kids, or something?
Now I'm gonna have to look it up as we're talking, but like I've actually seen this movie, and that movie is weird as hell. Hold on, I got it right here. It is directed by Harmony Korine.
Yeah. He wrote Kids, I believe, or produced it as well, or something.
Yeah, he was the writer of Kids. But I'm not gonna discourage you from going and watching it. I'm just gonna tell you that movie's weird as hell. James Franco, Vanessa Hudgens, Selena Gomez, a few others. It's not horrible. It's just weird. It's not exactly what you would expect from the people that are in that movie. But anyways,
kind of what you would expect from the writer of Kids and Gummo.
True. Now that you say that, yeah, back when I saw that movie a few years ago, I didn't know that connection. So now it's making more sense.
Yeah.
I remember being a teenager and Kids was just like, wow, So then what was the second one? Gummo comes out, and it's just like, yep, not didn't follow up for me.
So there's your connection to Kids there with Agnes B. all the way down the line. So it stars Oni Tamila as Pitari. He's the little kid that is like basically the main kid in this movie. He was also in the movie Big Game with Samuel L. Jackson. It stars Jorma Tamila as Rauno, which is the Pitari's father. He also was in the movie Big Game. Now, based on
what was that name again, Josh? Before I finish. No.
Now, the kid's real name is Oni Tamila, and the father's real name is Jorma Tamila. So I'm going to assume that maybe they're related, but I don't know that. I couldn't find any official word that like this is father and son, grandfather and grandson. I have no idea.
Mhm.
Nephew, uncle, I have no idea. But they have the same last name, so that may or may not be the case. It also stars Rauno Juvonen as Pilparinen. He's one of the guys, that helps them, toward the end. One of the dad's friends or whatever. The guy that wore the sunglasses, I believe.
The glasses,
the
the awesome sunglasses. Those are bad.
He was also in a movie called Big Game. And Tommy Corpola as Aimo, who's the other guy that kind of comes in a little bit later on. He was not in Big Game, so it ended with him.
He got left out. He's like,
yeah. So apparently that's just like, all right, well, let's just take the half or over half the cast of Rare Exports and slide them into the Samuel L. Jackson movie. Weird, but it is. Well, I guess the common denominator there is John Merrill Headlander, so they must have some history. And I do believe there was some other things that had to do with these guys. Like there was a movie called The Christmas Party from 1996. So apparently, like this is somewhat of a crew of people that kind of run in the same circles. Is what I'm gathering here. So
it's like the Super Trooper crew.
I guess of Finland, the Super Trooper group of Finland. They have a name too, right?
And it's the only movie where
do.
you get to hear Samuel L. Jackson say "motherfucker" in Finnish.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know if he speaks Finnish or English. I assume they speak English.
Yeah. I don't know how that. Now we have to go see Big Game because there's too many connections here. Like,
That's right.
I want to see the cast of Rare Exports in Big Game, which that movie might be scarier than this one for all I know. I mean, because I don't know if like that's the other thing too that I wanted to point out. Like this movie is, I saw somewhere it was listed as like a action comedy horror, which I thought was a weird combination. But it is kind of appropriate too because like it didn't necessarily feel like a horror movie to me. Through and through at least. There are horror aspects to it, I guess.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think it just had that dark, that original folklore fairy tale aspect, which is inherently has horror mixed in with it all, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But not fully horror. Yeah.
But I don't necessarily see the comedy either. Like I think it's just as much comedy as it is horror, if anything,
True.
or action for that matter. I mean, it was a little bit more serious. It honestly was a little bit more serious than I thought it was going to be. Just my opinion.
And it had that fantasy aspect too, I guess.
I guess that kind of gives it its dark humor, I guess.
True.
Yeah, well, I did see somewhere where they kind of listed it as like a dark comedy kind of thing. So I guess that kind of falls in line.
Yeah.
So it's definitely hard to classify this one as anything in particular, but they don't always have to be. But just for our sakes of this podcast, where we've generally done horror movies, I don't know if this one necessarily fits it entirely, but it works enough. So we'll go with it. I couldn't find anything on Rotten Tomatoes for this movie. I don't know if they've just, there was really no page for it or anything. But on IMDb, it has 6.7 stars out of 10. And that's with over 24,000 ratings. And a Metascore of 71 with 18 critic reviews. So overall, that's pretty good. Pretty good numbers for it. I guess that was about it, though, as far as the information that I had. I mean, were you guys able to find anything else that I failed to mention?
No, that was about it for me because, like I said, I looked up Big Game because I had that something in the back of my head that was like about Samuel L. Jackson as a president in some movie, and I wouldn't have even been able to tell you what the name of that movie was or anything. So that connection was kind of cool of looking on IMDb, seeing what the director of other movies was, and it was Big Game. Reading that synopsis and like, there it is. So I had that in the back of my head somewhere. I just couldn't pull out what the title of the movie was, or if I even saw the trailer, or I've just heard that Samuel L. Jackson played the president in some movie or what. But now I have the name of the movie, so we'll have to watch a Big Game at some point. So maybe not necessarily for the show, but
now you know that all the information that we have from this point forward is about the movie Big Game. We just decided to change up in the middle of this and watch Big Game.
Now, before this though, when I saw this movie back in 2011 or 12 or whenever I first saw it, I don't think I ever looked into anything at that point. Of course, he didn't make Big Game until 2014 anyway. Mm-hmm. But I was aware of the short film, and I might have even watched the short film back then, but don't remember. Saw it once maybe on YouTube back when this movie first came out. Yeah. Other than that, I don't remember ever looking up anything or seeing anything else by this director.
Yeah, so this was clearly like a pet project they had on the burner for a while. I mean, that was from the short film was from '03, the other one was from '05, and this was in 2010. So what's that, about 7 or 8 years they probably spent just on this concept alone. So it's clearly a personal project for them. Now remember, for you, the listeners of the All-American Spook Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. Smokey, I think you said you've been taking advantage of it. What you been listening to?
Right now I'm currently listening to Dawn of the Jedi, which was one of the Star Wars novels. Actually, the chronological order, it's the first one, some 20 or 30,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. And it's one of those audiobooks that has the soundtrack music and sound effects and everything in it, which is cool. Enjoying it so far.
I haven't listened to a bunch of audiobooks myself, but I don't know how often that is, like in an audiobook, that they do a bunch of music and sound effects and stuff like that. Like the few that I've listened to, I don't think there was any, like, other than whoever was reading it doing different voices and stuff like that. I don't think there was any music, grand music or sound effects or anything. So that's a pretty cool thing for the Star Wars books to do.
Yeah, Willie might know a little bit more about that too, as far as the Star Wars. I know that's the only one I've ever heard with those effects and music and cues and everything in it are the Star Wars one. I'm sure there probably maybe some others out there.
I've listened to about 7 or 8 Star Wars books now, and all of them have that.
I got that to look forward to, because I definitely going to listen to some more after this. I think it really adds to it, and I think Willie might have mentioned this, that some people, or that somebody that maybe doesn't necessarily like the sound effects, but I don't know, they may have other Star Wars novels, I'm not sure, that don't have that. But I really find that sound effects and the music kind of adds to the experience.
I'll just list off a few other books you can try with your free audio, your free Audible trial at audibletrial.com/spookshow. You have The Guardians by John Grisham. These are just some of the hotter books right now on the top 100. A Minute to Midnight by David Baldacci. The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. The Chemist by Stephanie Meyer. The Institute by Stephen King, that's his latest novel. Blue Moon by Lee Child. In the Heart of the Fire by Dean Koontz. So plenty to choose from with your free Audible trial. So to download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/spookshow. Again, that's audibletrial.com/spookshow for your free audiobook.
It's intermission, it's intermission. It's intermission, it's intermission. Ice cream, candy, lemonade too. And there's a hot dog waiting for you.
The popcorn's popping and it's ready to go. You know all the great food is stealing the show.
Get up out your seat and get yourself a tasty treat down at the snack bar. Snack bar.
All right, so I guess with that being said, we can go ahead and get into the old play-by-play for the film here. So it starts with a countdown that says like 24 days to Christmas. And then, so you see there's like a drill team or something, like a research team that's drilling for like core samples like down in this mountaintop of the Corvatanturi Mountains. It says in some of the notes that I put here, the Corvatanturi Mountains are in the Finnish province of Lapland. So if that will put some geographical perspective, where this is at. Then there's two boys kind of sitting over in the corner, like, hiding behind some pallets or something, and are watching this happen. Basically, they come up with this sample of like sawdust or something, and they said they've hit some ice up underneath it, and they take it to the lead. I guess the lead over the project, the guy that's funding this. I'm not sure exactly what his role is, but I'm thinking he's the guy that's like funding this whole thing, and his name's Riley. They take it to him, and then he gives them, like, I thought it was kind of funny how he gives them like this new list of safety instructions where it says like no drinking, no smoking, no cursing, make sure you wash behind your ears and stuff.
Yeah, he obviously has some inside information on what what they're digging for.
Mm-hmm. So then it becomes clear to Riley that it's an ancient burial mound built to conceal and imprison something. And like I said, the two boys who turn out to be Juso and Pitari, which basically end up being your two main boys of the whole film. They're watching him and they're kind of eavesdropping on this, and then they take off to Juso's nearby snowmobile, and they're kind of arguing back and forth about like whether Santa Claus is real or not. Juso's saying Pitari's being a little baby, like Santa's not real, whatever. And then you see Pitari come home Well, actually, before they go home, like you can see the team up on top of the mountain as they look back, that they use some explosives. So there's this huge explosion up there that they're starting to dig. Patari goes home and you see him reading some books, and it's about like the folklore of Santa Claus, which is like we said before, like the old school folklore of him being like a horned demon almost who would come and beat and eat kids and stuff and bowls them in cauldrons and stuff like that, And then you see.
And at this point, I'm seeing this and I'm thinking, all right, so his dad's clearly got to be like some kind of historian.
You mean that he has
because of all those books up in the attic?
Because all the books about this demon Santa Claus.
Maybe his dad's was once like the dad from the Goonies, where he's got all this old cool shit in the attic.
No. He just likes to slaughter reindeer.
No, yeah, he's a reindeer slaughterer. By the way, is that common in Finland, or is that just for this movie? Like that they slaughter reindeer?
I'm guessing that was the way it was in the movie is that was their income for the year, right? I guess harvest this reindeer meat or whatever and sell it, and they would make so much money a year on doing that.
Yeah, they put like
but
the
yeah,
number.
I don't know if that's the custom. I guess up in Lapland or wherever.
Yeah. I guess they put like the number of like $85,000 is the debt that's owed or something like that a little bit later on.
3 separate families can live on $85,000 a year.
That's amazing. That's just these 3. I mean, remember in that scene where there's a bunch of like people gathered around the the electric fence thing. There's a lot more than 3 families hanging around. And obviously with these kids and stuff that you see later on. So then you see the countdown that says 1 day to Christmas. And Pitari's father, Ranau, you see him, I guess that's how you pronounce it. Hell if I know. Ranau? We'll just go with that.
Ronald. We'll go with that.
Ronnie! Pitari's father, Ranau, digs a trap pit in the yard, and he like hangs a pig head up above it. I guess it's like bait. And it's to protect the remaining reindeer in case of wolves. So like, they have a wolf problem, I guess, is what you're assuming, up to this point. And then he wakes, Patari's upstairs asleep, and he wakes him up by throwing a snowball at the window. That's kind of like your little jump scare, like, And then he tells him to get dressed and prepare for rounding up the reindeer herds with the other herders down at the electric reindeer pen. So this is something that they do over there in Lapland. Let's all get together and go down to the electric reindeer pen.
That's the code word for it anyways.
Yeah. Oh, wow. God knows what happens down at the electric reindeer pen.
What happens in the electric reindeer pen stays in the electric reindeer pen.
In Lapland.
In Lapland, yes.
So then, like, they're all waiting for some reindeer to come up over the hill, and then there's like 2 little skinny reindeer runts that just kind of come up over the hill, and then they're all disappointed. So they go and check and see what the hell's going on. This is weird. And then they find, like, I guess they said like hundreds, but at least like dozens of reindeer dead, like out by this fence that's beside the Corventanturi Mountain.
Yeah.
Kind of underneath where they're doing this research up on top.
Hold on, can I jump back for a second?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was expecting to see like wranglers like bringing them in. Like it looked like the reindeers just made their way, and they were just gonna randomly run up this hill and go into a fence.
Well, I guess they've done.
Yeah, I guess they didn't think that through yet. This was the first year they were trying the old electric pen, I think, wasn't it?
Well, they've done this for so long that, like, it's like the lemmings. The reindeer just know to come to this certain spot every year. Maybe that's that's what kind of I went with.
Something tells me though, like if they had not died, the reindeer had been killed or whatever, would probably just would have all ran around the electric pen. Yeah.
And there again, like how would they know to go in there? Because aren't they getting slaughtered?
Look, you don't know the Finnish ways, clearly.
It was 2010, man. It was 2010.
Unfortunately, we can't even blame 1985 for this. This is 2010 shenanigans. So, anyways, they go and find there's like dozens, if not hundreds, of dead deer or reindeer. They're all tore up and everything. So what they assume is like the explosions and stuff that have been going on have driven the wolves in the area crazy, and like they believe that the wolves have killed all these reindeer. So like they're kind of looking at the reindeer or whatever, and then Patari's over kind of off to the side. He's doing his own little investigation, and he's convinced that it's not the wolves that did this. He's convinced that It's got something to do with Santa Claus and what they were doing up there and the research thing. And then the other kid, Juso, remember they had kind of cut a hole in this fence and went up there and to eavesdrop and see what the researchers were doing. He warns them not to tell anybody that they had cut that hole in the fence because this is where they believe the wolves came from. Blah blah blah. So he warned them, hey, don't you say a fucking word, or I'll wrap you upside the head or whatever. So then the group of guys are like, man, fuck this. Let's go up there and talk to them about this because this is they like demand retribution. This is bullshit. So they go through the fence and they go on, or they shoot the fence open, I should say, and they go on up. And to the name of the company up there, what you find is called the Sub-Zero Company. On the top of the hill, and they find a big pit that's at least like hundreds of meters deep. And no trace of anyone that was like any of the Sub-Zero researchers. None of them are around.
Also, I'd like to point out that when the guy gave the speech earlier in the movie, there was like 8 workers. Now, fast forward 23 days, and there is the biggest hole in the earth that goes forever down, and clearly 8 guys did this.
Well, a few good drills and some dynamite, man. I don't know. You can make a pretty big hole. You know what you're doing. So yeah, there's no trace of any of these researchers or any of these workers up there, but it looks like they've brought something up. Like clearly, like they've dug and they have found what they were looking for, and they brought something up. So they go on home, and then there's like this long, like the dad, father and son, Patari and Ranau, they have like this kind of a long, depressing conversation, like what would happen if I wasn't here anymore, like, and the dad's like crying and shit. Like it's a pretty depressing little moment here.
Yeah, because the dad is saying all of the wrong things.
Yeah.
What would you think if I weren't around anymore? Well, you shouldn't be around. Go to bed.
Yeah, he would put it in such a way like,
damn,
you shouldn't be here. You should be in bed. It's like the old, he's dead. What? Dead tired of being.
Because I guess they don't say what happened to the mom, right? But the mom obviously died because they're like lighting candles for her at the table.
Yeah,
and I'm guessing that's why the whole depressing atmosphere is there, because the wife and mom
and the fact that this,
anymore.
that they were waiting for the big reindeer crop to come running over the hill, and then when it didn't show up, clearly the dad's he's in the shits now, because of this.
Yeah.
He's just one step away from crawling in the bottle, right? It just hasn't. You just haven't seen it happen. Yeah. But instead, he just burns gingerbread. And boy, there's some gingerbread eating fools, right? Like, is that because like that's all they have to eat, or just in Lapland they just eat the fuck out of some gingerbread because that's all they were eating? I guess they were down.
Is that what he was burning too? Did he burn gingerbread?
I don't know what the hell. It kind of
I think that's all they ate. The entire movie.
But I don't know whether that's what he burned or not, but I'm just going to assume it's gingerbread because, like you said, that's all they ate. It's almost like the last movie, Home Sweet Home, where they did nothing but eat peas, even though they had a whole dinner table full of other food. Let's just focus in on the peas. At least in this scenario.
What happened to the crew, too. The crew, they're like, we don't have that much money to pay you, but we're going to pay you a shitload of gingerbread. Is that cool?
Yeah, all right, well. Beggars can't be choosers. By the way, that was kind of a Mexican accent. I apologize. Because I'm pretty sure they probably didn't have, I'm not going any further. You know what I mean?
That was supposed to be Mexican. I thought it was almost a little touch of Italian.
Okay, all right. Ese Strasser.
Ese Strasser.
Okay, now I get you. You changed nothing about the inflection of what you said, but now I understand. Anyway, so they have this depressing conversation over gingerbread, and
as one does.
Yeah, as they do in Lapland. And and then it's like this was kind of, because it's basically the only kind of scene like this that I felt was kind of out of place. It cuts back to the men back on top of the research mountain, or doing the research on the mountain, and then like the dude says something like on the walkie-talkie, he cusses or something, and all of a sudden, like all the workers just disappear and their helmets fly up in there or something. So was that a flashback, or was that like, because clearly they'd went up there and there was no trace of anybody. So did they just insert this scene to show you what happened?
Were they there, or were they at the airport hangar?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like
I got the feeling that it was the hangar.
I was feeling that. But I mean, I know it wasn't Santa Claus or anything, because we haven't, of course, gotten to that point in the movie. But I mean, as you were watching it, it's only led to believe that it's I don't know. Well, we haven't gotten to that point yet, so I guess I won't give away.
I don't know. It's just the geography of things. I think it kept throwing me off, like the research site versus the hangar.
Yeah, I think they did do a little bit of, like, maybe it was in the editing of the writing. Some things didn't flow together well. As far as that timeline, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know exactly. I just figured maybe this was a flashback or not. But maybe you're right. Maybe this was at the hangar, and you kind of see, something weird is going on now, right? I guess is what showing what they're showing you there. Then it goes to that little countdown clock that you've seen a couple of times. It says 0 days till Christmas. So now you're basically on like Christmas Eve morning. So Pitari gets grounded for putting a reindeer trap inside the fireplace. Like he puts like a damn bear trap. But I guess you don't see this happen. And the dad's like throwing wood in there to start the day's fire, to warm it up, warm the house up, and then pow, and then holy shit, I could have been killed.
Immediately cuts real quick right upstairs to Pitari, and he's
like, oh,
and he hears the trap.
Dad
because
found
at first you think you don't know what happened. Like, did something come down the chimney? Mm-hmm. Like Santa or whatever. The evil Santa's coming down the chimney now.
Something we've all said in our lives. Dad found the bear trap in the fireplace. Like I said, this is the morning of Christmas Eve, and then they go out and they realize he goes out to take a leak. Pitari does, and he notices that pig head that was hanging over the trap is gone. So this trap has worked. So he calls his dad. They come out and look, and there's no wolf down in there, but they do find a man. There's a dude down there, but he doesn't want Pitari to see this, so he kind of calls his friend. Gets his help from his friend Piperine, which once again I'm sure I'm murdering that guy's name.
Sunglasses dude.
Yeah, sunglass guy Piperine, Pepperoni.
We'll call it Pepperoni. Pepperoni. Wait, now we're speaking Italian again.
I'm all confused. Pepperoni comes over and he brings like a burlap sack, and he helps Renau take the body out of there, and then they put it in his reindeer slaughterhouse. And it's like a skinny old man, and they put him on like the slaughterhouse table there, and they're like, what do we do about this? Like, well, that trap's illegal, so like we don't want to get in trouble. All right, in fact, let's just cut his corpse up and dispose of him. It seems like.
By the way, there's a wolf problem out in the middle of freaking nowhere, so it's illegal to kill the wolves.
They keep talking about these wolves, but you notice you never see one wolf in this entire movie. Like, it would have served them good to get a couple of at least some wolf footage from the Finnish Film Institute and slide it in here at least.
Well, see, that's foreshadowing for Santa Claus.
What's that? That there's wolf trouble?
Not showing what you're expecting.
I guess, but I mean, at least you need a little bit of a distraction from look over here, ha! It wasn't that the whole time, But you never see the wolves. They realize that the guy's still alive. Like he jerks his they grab his arm about to put him on the saw, and he kind of pulls his arm back, and then he kind of does the sniff. Like the old man, like he smells something, and then you see Pitari's then climbed up in the window and he's looking down. So clearly, like he smelled the kid, right?
Yeah.
So
because, like I said, we're at this point in the movie, we're I guess led to believe on a certain thing at this point.
Yeah. So his father sees him in the window, and then Pitari runs off. And he runs down like the end of the road. The dad gets in the car, kind of, to go after him. Mm-hmm. And then the cops pass by, or a cop car passes by, and Pitari gets in there with him. And then the father follows them. They eventually reach a village where, the cop gets out because there's been something going on. And then they hear of the other villagers have had their potato sacks stolen. So they just dumped the potatoes out and took the sacks. They've all had their heaters and their hair dryer, or Pepperoni's wife's hair dryer has been stolen, which is I guess is a high end item in the village.
At least in Russia.
Yeah. He says this is high end technology in Russia. I'm sure those types of things are luxury items in places like that for sure. But yeah, they notice all these things have gone missing. Then as they're talking about this, Pitari goes off to find Juso, his friend Juso, who's Pepperoni's son, and he goes into the house, and he's gone. You know, he's not in the bed, but there's like a straw man, like a straw boy in the bed in his place. So like, what the fuck, you know? The mystery deepens. So Pepperoni teases. So he's back. He's left with the old man back at the slaughterhouse. So like he's standing there eating a piece of gingerbread, as they love to do there, and he starts teasing the old man with it. Kind of gets up close to him, like like I'm gonna give you a piece. Note, pull him back. And all of a sudden, the old man reaches up and bites his ear off. You don't actually see it happen, but he kind of raises up, and then once they come back, you realize he's done bit his damn ear off, which he's very nonchalant about, right? Like when they show back up, like he's just kind of dabbing at his ear, like damn that hurt, but his ear's gone.
He's like, it's kind of like to be expected when you fuck with somebody's gingerbread and laugh.
They take
and he fell
gingerbread
down
serious.
in a pit of spears and is still alive.
Yeah. Well, still, he's very nonchalant about his ear being gone. I mean, like, you would think he'd be, like, out there screaming and running around and more blood, but no, it's just kind of like a little bloody mess is there, and he's just kind of dabbing at it, like, damn, I wouldn't go in there,
Well, this happened.
Yeah. Look what he did to my ear.
Meanwhile, that dude was really worried about getting out and within an hour of pulling up at that place. And as the movie goes on, he just never left.
Yeah. Well, at first he was ready to go do his little Santa Claus gig or whatever the hell he was doing, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I guess the novelty of that wore off pretty quick with all the possible murdering going on.
Well, and the ear biting off.
Yeah.
I can't go to work now.
The Santa gig's over now. I got no ear.
The kids will know. Damn.
So they all show up. He shows them like, damn, look what he did to my ear, but they still go on in. And then they're kind of discussing what they want to do. And Patari goes in the house and he calls his friends on the telephone. He's got like a list of all of his friends. And he's calling one by one, and he realizes he realizes, that they're all missing. So then it goes back to them, like in there with the old man, and they're like poking him with a broomstick and stuff, and he's kind of not reacting until Patari calls for his dad outside. He comes out and he asks his dad to spank him for everything, and I guess he kind of spills the beans, like we're the one that cut the fence open and everything. We started this stuff, so he says something like I deserve a good smacking. For everything that we've done. I
think 15 will do.
So, because he believes that what they did is drawn this to happen. They're having this discussion and they're interrupted when they start yelling. And he says, "Come in here! You got to see this old man." The old man's kind of like down in the corner. And once again, they're like, "Look what he did! He like broke this stick in half or something like that." So clearly it's like some shit's going on here. Then when they're kind of staring at him like, "What the hell?" Then Patari walks in and the old man kind of stands up and notices him, looks over. Kind of smirks at him or whatever, and you can tell like he senses that there's a boy in there, and that the boy is in there. And then they realize like that the dude's coming for Patari, so they kind of protect him from being harmed. They kind of push him away. They grab a hold of him, I guess, and like tie him up, and then like chain him up and hang him from the ceiling. And that's when they get like I guess a call on the little radio that they had from the research team or whatever, and they tell them that they have found Santa Claus. So they go ahead and dress him up in Pepperoni's Santa outfit that he was going to do the Santa gig. He happened to have a Santa outfit. So they dress him up in there, and they put him in a cage and then the back of the truck and then take him to the air base there. Would you say it was the hangar or whatever? Yeah. And they're going to meet Riley. And then Riley comes, they show it to him, and then Riley says, "Oh, this isn't Santa Claus, but that's one of his helpers, his elves. And that they can't behave rudely. Like, they should watch what they say." And what does he say? Like, put your weapons down and put a big smile on your face.
Yeah.
Because now he realizes Santa's watching or whatever, right? And then one of them says a cuss word or something. And then the other elves start showing up. And they're basically just a bunch of old naked dudes with beards, like coming up out of the woods. And of course they kill the lights. And then they take down the helicopter pilot, and then they kill Riley. Before all the three men and Patari, they run into the hangar, which is Hangar 24, right? Which that was another little subplot there. Like Patari had like this little chocolate advent calendar or something in his room, and and like he refused to like open up number 24. Like he put a piece of tape on it, then he stapled it.
Scotch tape, right? Staples. And...
Obviously it eventually alludes to this, right? This Hangar 24 is where they've got. The big Santa or whatever, but the beast, whatever, it's about to be revealed. But like, what did that have? Was that just to allude to that? I mean, like, why would he not open that?
I think it was also because he was scared of all
Christmas?
that stuff he was digging up on Santa, the evil Santa, like he didn't want Christmas to come at that point. He's trying to keep it from.
Okay, so maybe he's just scared. So
that's what I was guessing at too. And then like you're saying, it was kind of like that foreshadowing or alluding to that hangar.
Yeah, because
as well.
once they kind of show that wide shot of the hangar and it's got the big 24 on it, you instantly go back to that. Oh yeah, that Advent thing, the calendar. So they run into the hangar 24 and they close the door and then they turn around and then they see this enormous horned monster beast thing that you don't really see all that well other than the horn sticking out of the ice, but it's in a huge block of ice. And all those missing heaters and everything from town are all like surrounding it and they're melting the ice. And then underneath that, or in between all that, are all the little missing kids from the village or from the town, and they're all in burlap sacks. So there's all the missing stuff. Like they were taking the potato sacks to put the kids in, taking the heaters to melt the ice, so Super Santa could come back and kill everybody, right? Or kill all the kids, including the missing kid Juso, Patari's friend. He's in there too. So then they're attacked by the elves, and then they're trying to break into the hangar. And then they all start disconnecting the heaters and pushing them up against the door to block the doors. And then Patari gets an idea. So the idea is basically to gather the children, leave them in the sacks or whatever, put them in this huge net. Pepperoni goes out, gets the helicopter. They come and scoop up the net and then fly them away with Patari hanging onto the net. I guess to attract the elves away from Santa. This is where clearly they spent most of their budget on this scene too, on the helicopter scene with the elves running and whatever.
By the way, can I point out how convenient it is that these guys live on $85,000 a year? One of them is clearly a certified helicopter pilot. The other one's an English translator.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really missing out on opportunities.
He at least knows enough on how to crank up the helicopter and get it off the ground. I wouldn't even be able to do that. So he has a base of knowledge that most don't for sure.
Oh yeah, it was an automatic. It was okay.
Oh, okay, automatic.
Oh yeah.
I should have known.
Yeah, it was a stick shift. You would have been in trouble, I guess.
Yeah. So that's kind of the plan. Is take the kids away, so that drives the elves away, and then they, Ranau and the other guy, Aimo, they're able to stay there and stick, there's a bunch of explosives sitting in the corner, by the way. They're able to drill holes in the ice and pop all these explosives into the side of it. Also, too, it only looked like, maybe a couple of 2 to 3 dozen elves standing outside, right? Had come creeping out of the woods like these naked old dudes. Mm. But then in that scene with the helicopter, it looks like hundreds of them.
Yeah, it's then turned into ants.
Yeah, there's just all of a sudden like World War Z, except it's creepy old elves, right? But then by the time they get to
naked old white dudes.
I didn't think I'd hear butt naked old white dudes today, but you win.
That was an interesting casting call that they're.
Yeah, we need skinny
all
dudes.
Corners of Lapland.
We need skinny, really old, skinny Santa Claus-ish dudes that don't mind getting naked, and it's not a porno. I promise you, it's not a porno.
Oh, that's for me.
So he kind of takes the kids in the helicopter. And then eventually he holds them over the electric reindeer. What do we call it? The electric reindeer pen or whatever. Yeah, he's holding them over that.
On the electric reindeer fence.
And then Patari jumps down and cuts the fence on or whatever. So the point is to draw the elves in, and we'll lock them into this electric fence thing.
Yeah, but it's a one-way trip.
Yeah, well, I guess he didn't tell them that part of the plan, right? It's basically he's going to jump down there and be the bait for the elves. So they're going to mess him up, and then that's it for him, right?
Hold on. To catch a predator.
In an electric reindeer pen.
Electric reindeer.
Forget Mike's Hard Lemonade. It's just one dude, one little kid standing in a pen.
You put a little boy in an electric fence.
All the pervs come running.
Who's that guy from Dateline? He's over in the corner. Excuse me, sir. Can I talk to you for a minute? It's got a stool sitting there.
Chris Hansen.
Hi, could you go ahead and sit down right now?
All 100 of you, sit down.
You can leave that Mike's Hard Lemonade there on the counter. Come and have a seat.
What were you doing here tonight? Well, I'm not going to do anything
I
with the kid. I was taking him back to Santa Claus.
I just coming to do, and then take off running.
Could I ask what you're going to do with all this gingerbread, sir?
Eventually, the two guys, the Rano and Aimo, they detonate the explosives, and actually, before they detonate the explosives and blow up Santa Claus, they cut his horns off. So I guess is that like proof that this happened? Did they do that for a trophy? I mean, what was necessarily the reason for that? I didn't.
Yeah, because I was thinking, all right, they're going to sell that and make a shit ton of money. No.
No, it turns out, they devised a whole other thing, to end this movie with. But I guess the horns were just trophies. I don't know. But either way, they climb up this huge ladder and saw the horns off and take them out, load them in the truck. Driving away, they detonate the explosives and blow Santa all to hell.
And this is the part where I was disappointed, man. Like,
Yeah,
you're leading up the entire movie to seeing Santa Claus.
Like I said, they spent their budget on the helicopter scene.
Clearly, but I don't understand the making of this movie at this point now. Like, up to this point, I'm like, all right, this actually isn't a bad movie, but I gotta see Santa Claus.
Yeah, no, you never.
I gotta have more cowbell, but not. I gotta have more Santa Claus, baby.
I baked this whole sheet of gingerbread for nothing.
Yeah, I agree. The first time I saw this movie, it was that too. It was that it's leading up. It's kind of anticlimactic when you're leading up to that point, and you really want to see him come out of that ice, even if he gets defeated, whatever is going to happen to him.
Even if it's just,
and that's where I was a little disappointed. The first time I saw it, I was disappointed with that part too.
Even if it's just briefly, just to see how they got him, because you never really see what
Just
the look
see what
is.
it looks like too.
Yeah, exactly. But you're cheated at that moment because they blow them all to hell. But the thing is, like, as the elves are coming into the electric reindeer pen, about to converge on Patari, once Santa is killed,
who doesn't seem upset, by the way.
No, he's kind of given. He's resigned to his fate since his, he says his dad didn't really want him around anymore. During the depressing gingerbread eating contest they had.
And all these old naked men seem to be really excited to run towards him. So.
Yeah, little boy. So they're converging on him.
Get your muscly ass back over here.
They're converging on little Patari there, and then all of a sudden, like, that connection that they had with Santa, now that they blew him up, boom, that's over, and they just kind of like, well, we've got no reason to exist. What else you doing tonight, Frank? I don't know. Anybody want to put some pants on? They all just kind of
maybe
stop.
at least some underwear.
They all just kind of stop in their tracks, and that's it, really. I mean, then, like, eventually, obviously, they return the kids to the home. So, like, the aftermath is like they decide to basically start a business with these elves. So then you see, like, like, I guess they put a price on it. Like, that's worth like $16.8 million at $85,000 a piece or whatever. Which I don't know where they're getting this valuation at. Like, like the one dude that might have been willing to pay this took an elf axe to the head. The Riley guy. So I don't know, but whatever. So they decide to take all these elves and basically train them up as mall Santas. So, like, then it goes to there's 312 days to Christmas, and you show them, like, cleaning them off. Then there's 76 days to Christmas, and they're training them how to hold kids and, like, show them presents and everything. And then there's 24 days to Christmas, and they're, like, slapping the logos on the boxes. And there's where you get the name of the movie, Rare Exports. Then the little logo says Rare Exports from the land of the original Santa Claus. And that's pretty much it. That's the credits. So that is the 2010 finished movie, Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale. So, Will, what's your star rating on this one? Where do you land on this one?
I'm probably going to end up on a 2 on this one. Like up until about the scene of the Santa Claus, like, I was really with this movie. I was enjoying it. As silly as it was, I mean, I was enjoying the movie, and then I guess they just run out of budget to not be able to show Santa Claus. So I don't know. I just felt like I was cheated out of what I was looking forward to.
So what's your star rating? You said 2?
2.
I'm sorry, I missed that part. All right, Smoke, where are you at on this one?
Well, I go with the 3 on this one. I mean, I do agree with Will that it was a anticlimactic. With not showing Santa Claus, I was a little disappointed with that too the first time around. And even though that first time around I still enjoyed it overall, seeing it a second and third time, you already know what's going to happen. You already know you're not going to see Santa Claus. So I enjoyed it more, I guess, on the second viewing, and then even a little bit more on the third viewing. So it's one of those movies where don't necessarily watch it as a Christmas movie every year, but every couple of 2 or 3 years or so, I come back around to it and watch it again. So I give it a 3. I think it's kind of an underrated little Christmas gem. It's something different. It's like, you got all your typical Christmas movies, your typical Christmas horror movies. This one is not fully horror. It's got that dark fantasy aspect. As we mentioned, it's got all kind of genres in it. And if you don't mind, Finnish subtitles. Although some of it's in English, some of the characters are in English too. Speak English, so it's one of those types of movies where it's subtitled. Some people speak in English and whatnot. So if you don't mind that, I think it's interesting to pull it out once in a while and watch it around the holidays.
Myself, I think I'm going to be like Will. I'm going to give it a 2. I could probably go a little higher than that, but I think I'm good there. I think it's probably a fair little spot to put it because like I said before, it's a quick, hour and 24 minutes. It is fast. It holds your interest. There is a little bit of disappointment not being able to see what the creature, the Santa creature looked like. Maybe their intention there was like kind of the magic of Christmas type thing, so to speak, quote unquote, where like, you never really see Santa, right? Maybe that's what they were going for. Like, you don't actually ever see Santa, so, you don't really need to see this one either. Like, you've seen enough, like with the horns and everything. I guess they're thinking like, well, the imagination will fill in the blanks of what this thing looks like. Meanwhile, I'm sure they just wanted to save a little bank on the budget, but
it would have cost for sure.
I'm
to make it convincing, it definitely would have cost a good bit.
Yeah, but beyond that, I really enjoyed it. As far as these types of Christmas horror movies are concerned, it's probably one of the better ones I've seen. Not that I've seen a whole hell of a bunch, but the handful that I've seen, it's pretty good. Yeah, I guess I'll just stay with 2. I would have, and also that's what I was going to point out, the foreign language thing. It being in Finnish or whatever. It didn't really bother me as much as those type of movies sometimes do. You know how you kind of like at first, when you start watching a foreign language movie, you're kind of like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to, read this movie. Sometimes you got
to concentrate on the subtitles and you kind of miss visual cues and things.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like you lose some things in interpretation. Sometimes, on certain movies. This one didn't really feel like it wasn't really bogged down by that too much for me. Like I was still able to enjoy it, read along, understand what was going on. Now granted, this isn't like Citizen Kane where it's heavy on dialogue or something like that. But
that's true. It's not like that where you're watching some foreign movies and like there's a whole sentence on the screen for like 2 seconds. And you got to go back. So what they were saying.
This bothered me less than the last movie that we watched here on the podcast. Terrified. Remember that one being in Spanish? That one probably bothered me a little bit more. Not bothered, but you know what I mean. It was kind of in the way a little bit more than this one was, in my opinion. But I don't think it held it back from me enjoying it any more or less because of that, for sure. I think I enjoyed it for what it was. Whether that being said, I think if you took this plot or you took this movie, remade it somewhat, for an American audience, maybe with at least 1 or 2 known actors, and maybe fix the end where you actually get to see the creature or something, I think this would be a movie that would be on a lot more people's list to watch at Christmas time. Because, it's not even, because like we said, it's not overtly anything. It's not overtly horror or anything like that. So, like, you could technically sit down and watch this with your kid if you wanted to. I mean, there's nothing extreme in this movie, right? So.
Well, except for maybe a little bit of the full frontal male genitalia, the penis elves.
But Josh wasn't against that, apparently. So.
No. But,
I don't know what kind of movies you guys show your kids, but I'm all in.
Feel my little elf penis. It's okay.
All right, I stand corrected. Other than the full grown-ass old man full frontal nudity, there wasn't anything else. And, like, it's not like severed heads flying around. You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
And clearly that was just because of the culture difference there, where, like, nudity is far more accepted, in movies and TV over there than it is, here in the U.S. Definitely. So I'm sure that had to do with that. But other than that, I'm going to be showing the kids. Avert your eyes for the last 15 minutes, kids. But I want to see how it finishes. Don't watch! This is Daddy's time.
Daddy, what's that?
You'll learn one day.
It's a gingerbread stick. Don't worry about it right now.
All right, that's enough of the perviness. So it's getting uncomfortable in here. Anyone else getting hot?
Oh God.
So anyways, that's how we'll wrap up Rare Exports. So I think, Will and I gave it 2 stars. Smoke gives it 3. So clearly, I think by and large, we recommend it. If you want to go out and check it out, I think the Spookshow gang gives it a thumbs up. So on the next episode, we're going to continue to celebrate Christmas here, and we're going to go back to 1974 and do the horror Christmas classic Black Christmas. There's been one remake back in what year was that, Smoke? The mid 2000s, right?
2006, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. And now there's a new one out here in 2019. So we figured it'd be an appropriate time to go back and watch the original, directed by Bob Clark from 1974. The very brief synopsis that they give on IMDb: during their Christmas break, a group of sorority girls are stalked by a stranger. So I guess that sets it up enough. So, if you want to watch ahead as usual, we're going to be watching Black Christmas from 1974. As of the recording of this podcast, it is available on Shudder. It may be available in some other places, but I know for a fact it's on Shudder. So if you want to go, if you have access to that, and go check it out. Otherwise, you can look around on the internet and see if it's available anywhere else. I'm sure you can rent it on a lot of the usual VOD, rental platforms. So get ahead of the curve and watch Black Christmas from 1974 for the next episode. Anything else you guys want to add about Rare Exports or anything else before we sign off here?
I'm good.
I think that's it. They covered it.
I think we can. Lock this sucker up and throw it in the trash can now that I've said that I'm going to show my kids full frontal nudity. All right, so
well, there were elves. It was 2010.
Things were a little nutty and more acceptable back in those days.
That's an interesting phrase you threw out there, by the way.
All right, well, I'm Josh, and for Will and Smoke, this is the All American Spook Show podcast. We will see you next time for Black Christmas.